living the dream. I'm in love with the lights. This is not just a game. This here is my life. Put the cameras on me, yeah, yeah. Put the cameras on me, yeah, yeah. Put the cameras on me, yeah, yeah. Put the cameras on me, yeah.
Hello, everybody. Live from SoFi Stadium. It is the Ozone. I'm your host, Omar Miller, and I'm here with my brother, Terry Miller, also known as the Icons. How you feeling?
Great.
I'd like you to refer to me as champ from now on.
You are the champ for this season.
Very well, folks.
You do what you do. I do what I do.
I take down scores. Ladies and gentlemen, I won my fantasy baseball league. Nice, tasty pie.
Get ready to say, nice little piece of change.
Nice piece of change. Get to win some money. I'm going to read you guys off my lineup just because I love you. So you guys can hear about what I got going. And away we go. This was the winning lineup for the fantasy O-Dub. At catcher, we have a super surprise.
A super surprise.
I mean, a crazy surprise. Mr. Salvador Perez.
If it wasn't for Ohtani, Salvador Perez should be the MVP.
How? It's still difficult, even with Ohtani that's looking like Vlad, because when guys don't make the playoffs,
Yeah.
I mean, Ohtani is clearly...
Is Vlad and them going to make the playoffs? The reason why I only go with Ohtani over Salvador Perez is for the simple fact that Ohtani brings in mega worldwide, coverage.
He's a superstar.
And he's the most valuable player to the sport at this point. But not because
there needs to be a recognition.
Not just because of his
some sort.
numbers, but because what he's doing in the sport and what he's driving, the traffic that he's driving to the sport now.
He's putting a lot of eyes on the sport.
Yeah.
People who were totally and completely not
Bringing
interested.
another country,
It's worldwide.
It's worldwide.
And without speaking English, which is
Exactly.
not a prerequisite. His play does the talking for him.
Exactly.
And he goes both ways, and it's very impressive because he's dominant on both sides.
And he's humble at the same time.
Super humble. And he looks like a grown man playing a child's game.
Yes.
He's having a good time. He enjoys
Stud.
the game. He's total stud.
Yeah.
All right. So Salvi Perez is in contention, might win the home run title. I mean,
46 bombs, man.
I mean, this dude is leaving the yard. He broke Johnny Bench's record,
Yeah,
which is a record I didn't think would get broken, to be honest.
Yeah, Johnny Bench sent him out a shout out.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
Wow. Was he holding all the baseballs?
No.
All right. Then I got Frank Schwindel, not Lindell. And Schwindel, he was a pickup because my man, our starter for the year, Jesus Aguilar, deserves honorable mention, but he went down with a knee.
He still gets a ring, though, doesn't
he?
he?
A knee?
Don't you
He
get
got a
it?
knee?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a knee. He's got a knee. Yeah, and so, he still gets a ring.
Okay.
Are you crazy? He carried the team.
Okay.
He had 100 ribeyes this year. And see, the reason I won, folks, I just want to let you know, I had a ragtag group of fugitives.
You did.
That was not name value. I didn't get the marquee. But
I
my
have
guys
the
put up
marquee.
numbers. Oh, you got marquee. And you got shut down.
And I
in the
buy
playoffs by the
this
champ.
dude. Buy the
All
champ.
right, we're going to run through it quick because we understand that you guys have other stuff to do besides
They're on a time-space continuum.
Oh, absolutely. Now, press the supernova. And that second base, we got starting Gene Segura. Gene
He's a
Segura
sleeper cell.
is a super sleeper cell for you in fantasy on a daily.
He won't be
or-
next year.
He won't be. People are going to pick him up. But he hits the ball, man.
Yeah.
Gene hits the ball. He
He
can
has
go
to stay
deep.
healthy.
That's all it is for him. He can go deep. He plays decent defense, and he gets knocks. I think he's in 305, 307, something like that. Great ball player. It's a great way to run through what's going on in
Right.
baseball too, because
Exactly.
he's been a key component for these Phillies who are trying to eke out this National League East.
Phillies aren't real.
And I don't feel like they're real.
Yeah.
I really don't, and I
Because
feel
they
like the
just
Braves are real.
Yeah,
over
but
there.
they just lost to the Orioles. You can't lose to the Orioles.
Not at this point.
No.
Not at this point.
Ugly.
The first two players that are on my squad, we don't even need to talk about their teams because they're not really going anywhere. And my starting third baseman isn't really going anywhere either, and it's former MVP Josh Donaldson. There was a season when Josh Donaldson was the best player in the league, and
That season has passed.
That season has passed, and he battles a lot of injuries. Seems like a great guy, though. I hung out with him one day. He was a really fun dude, but he showed up for me. He showed up for me when he played. Now, let's get to where the rubber meets the road. At shortstop, we got starting Brandon Crawford.
Now, for me, Brandon Crawford should be in the MVP conversation.
Key guy this year.
I mean, he's been consistent the whole
Him
year.
and Buster Posey.
Yeah, he's been consistent the whole year. I mean, what does he have, like 21 bombs?
Nice all around
299 or whatever.
Still got crazy leather,
And they're in first place.
and they're in first
And
place.
that guy knows how to win.
he knows how to
He
win.
does
He's
the
got
small
3
things.
chips.
Right.
That dude knows how to win. He's
Yeah.
looking for number 4.
Yeah.
People keep sleeping on the Giants, and it's a problem because I'm telling you that acquisition of Chris Bryant, in my opinion, was clutch.
Took him over the top.
It may have. I still think they need a little bit more help in the bullpen.
They have that kid, too. Was it Lamont Wade? He's
Lamont, you big dummy. They got Lamont out there.
They got Lamont. Lamont putting up numbers.
It is. How about Anthony Goes?
Came out
How
through a
great
C
is
note.
that?
I'd love to see that.
Me too.
Come back after a couple of years.
Anthony Goes was an outfielder for the Blue Jays.
Played in Bellflower.
Yep. He's an LA All-Star.
Uh-huh.
And then his fielding career ended, and he reinvented himself as a pitcher
Because he had a
always
hose.
had a hose.
Yes.
Always had a hose.
Yes.
And he reinvented himself as a pitcher and came back and got in the game the other day.
Struck out
in the
Salvi.
Major League and struck out Salvi.
High cheese. C note.
Buzz.
C note.
Great work. I'm really
Was.
happy for Anthony Goes.
I was too.
Really happy for him. But he's not on my team. Who is on my team starting in the outfield is Mitch Haniger. Mitch Haniger
Another sleeper cell.
is a sleeper that's having a great season on a team that's better than I expected, I have to say. The Mariners got a lot of these young guys that they're letting play, and Kyle Seager's having a crazy season, having
Again.
a real bounce-back season. The Seager boys know how to play baseball, man.
Yeah. I think Kyle Seager's batting average is not that high, though, right?
No, he made a swap kind of like Joey Votto did.
Right.
And it's funny because I wonder what made these guys look and say that. Say, you know what? Maybe I don't need to be on base as much, or maybe I don't need to take as many walks. I can strike out more, but I'm leaving the yard.
Well, I think that's pending on where they put him in the lineup also, because that's big.
I don't know if he's ever switched. I mean, he's always been a middle of the order guy for them.
Yeah, but if you move him
4,
from the
5 guy.
three to the 4, then you can start. If you're in the 4 hole, the 3 hole is your bread and butter. The 4 hole needs to get out of Dodge. He needs to get out and get in the seats.
He needs to get in the seats. And Mitch Haniger's been doing that.
Yes.
Low batting average, but a lot of ribeyes.
Nobody cares about the low batting
And
average
you know what?
anymore.
He bats in the 2 hole most of the time.
Really?
Yeah, from what I've seen. And then the sleeper cell, who the icons told me not to drop because I was so frustrated with him at the beginning of the season, is Teoscar Hernandez.
You already dropped him.
Forget about it. He got COVID. And I was like, this dude, stay out the club.
I can't.
And I was gonna drop him. I can't even remember who the other guy was that I was gonna drop. And
Had
you
you
said,
wait.
well, you shouldn't drop Teoscar Hernandez. And he really took me
What,
over
the
the top.
31 bombs later?
And he put up like 55 or something in the first week of the finals.
Come on.
He's been on a tear since the All-Star break.
He went deep yesterday.
He goes deep just about every day.
Yeah.
And that lineup is berserk. Now, somebody who carried me through the middle of the season, and to go back to Toronto, I still love Toronto for the wild card. I would love for them to get in, even though Robbie Ray got dusted yesterday, which is the first time in a long time. But
He got dusted.
he did.
He got crazy suited.
He went up to the roof.
He got crazy
Got him a
suited.
bag of dust. He got crazy suited. Yeah, he was on that dust, but the team is solid. They don't have a bullpen, so they will not compete for the World Series, in my opinion. But the lineup does not stop.
No.
Marcus Semion's got 40 bombs,
Come on, man.
41 bombs, something like crazy like
George
that.
Springer hasn't even played half a season.
And
he's
he's
got
nice.
crazy numbers.
I think.
But forget about Vlad.
Bo Bichette, I think, is in the
Gurriel.
30s. Vlad is almost touching 50. I mean, they got offense up there, with the maple syrup. Then my guy that carried me until he got hurt, who really made this season is what it was a sleeper that I picked up because I love his work in Chicago, even though he killed the Dodgers and then he killed the Indians, is Mr. Kyle Schwarber.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle Schwarber
Oh, yeah.
busted heads.
Did.
And there was a period where he was on a tear with the Nationals earlier where you couldn't get him out. And I think he hit 16 bombs in 18 days or something
He
insane
went crazy.
like that.
Then he pulled, what did he do? Pull a hammy?
Yeah, what he got, a hammy?
Yeah, he got,
Yeah,
you got a hammy yet?
He's got a hammy.
Come on, you.
It's a hammy. It's a hammy.
He's got to go.
and he had to sit out for a while. But then he got traded to Boston, who's now a contender. And
He's been a contender / pretender the whole year.
it is. They are
Just a lot
they're
like the
both.
Yankees.
Worse. The Yankees
You think
are
that
worse.
the worst?
No, the Yankees are worse.
Oh, you're going to say the
The
Yankees?
Yankees are absolute pretenders.
Yes.
And it's really unfortunate because not even about the money, about the names and about the talent that they have. I think this is a testament to what you see when you don't have the proper chemistry.
Right.
And I don't know if it's not the proper chemistry between the coach and the players or the players and the players.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Really.
Yeah. But Aaron Boone, I think that some of his calls are questionable.
Yes.
I just don't think that they're a good team. Honestly,
They're not
And
a
the
good
record
team.
is showing what they are really.
Yes. They lose to terrible teams.
Yes.
Consistently.
Bullpen is bad. I mean, just they're not good.
They dealt with a lot of injuries.
Hey, but everybody
They didn't deal
has.
with them well.
Everybody has. I mean, it's all about the Stros, baby. Stros.
Moving on.
But I digress.
My DH is Mr. Matt Olson. Another 36 bombs, 38 bombs. Matt Olson's the kind of guy that
What kind of guy is he?
always said he's a stand-up guy
Yeah.
at first base. He stands up and he holds his glove out. But he's the kind of guy that we always said if he plays, he's going to hit bombs.
He's going to hit bombs. That's his stroke.
That's what he does.
Got
and that's what he's
383.
been doing. And on the bench, we got Jesus Aguilar, as aforementioned, down in Miami, put in work, even on a team that was a
What
losing
about the
team.
starting rotation? That's what we need to get to.
Well, I want to get to a couple people that deserve honorable mention because I had Luis.
Make it quick.
I had Luis Arias from Minnesota, and he played multiple positions for me, especially
that's
when
big
Josh
in fantasy.
Donaldson was hurt. Huge in fantasy. And fantasy. Minnesota's not going anywhere. What can you do? Sleeper shelf for next year for you guys. Isaiah Kiner Falefa. This kid is a fantasy star because he can steal bags. He gets knocks. Every now and then he goes deep. He's a good ball player.
But kudos to the Rangers because he came up as a catcher and they moved him out of that catching position. They moved him to third base and then they moved him to shortstop. And he's actually being productive because they would have killed his legs being back there.
Yes, absolutely. And then the two guys who overperformed / underperformed are Will Myers and Tommy Pham, which is representative. Hey, well, what's up, Pham? Came back from getting stabbed outside the strip club and had a good season.
Right.
But at the same time, now they're doing the platoon thing with Tatis. And in general, both of these guys are indicative of what the San Diego season has been. Up and down, inconsistent.
Roller coaster.
Yeah. I mean, when
rolling
it's up, it's way up.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They
On any given day, you don't want to run into them.
No.
You never can tell what Blake Snell's going to show up. Darvish has been hurt most of the year.
And then he's had games where he absolutely deals.
You have Donaldson, Lamet hasn't really pitched well because he's been hurt for most of the year. And
Chris Paddock never showed up to be what he was advertised to be yet. It's still young, but
young in the game.
Young in the game. But I tell you this much, San Diego, you never have to worry about winning a World Series with a shortstop making 40, 50 errors a season.
It does not work.
It won't happen. Will not happen.
But I think they're going to keep him in the outfield probably.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a good cover, the shoulder, for them. What do you got, a shoulder? It's a good cover for them to move him to the outfield under the guise of
so they won't crush his ego and everything else.
Yeah. But he is not what he needs to be at short.
The only thing that I disagree with him with is not moving Manny Machado back to short.
Who might be the best shortstop in baseball.
Yes.
But he's playing third base. This is how you mess around and don't go anywhere. All right. So then we got my starting rotation, a player that I traded the icons for, Mr. Dylan Cease. Inconsistent, just like the Chicago White Sox, but he's in first place. And when he's good, he's really good.
Yeah, but the thing of it is, in fantasy-wise, he doesn't hurt you because he strikes out so many people. So even when you take that loss, he's striking out 10 people a game.
Yeah, and he's a part of a key rotation on whether or not that rotation is going to determine how far they go.
Well, Rodon just got hurt, and they're not real either.
And Giolito hasn't been as good as Giolito's been.
Right.
Dylan Cease seems like he can only pitch at home. Mm-hmm. He gets dug on the road for some reason.
They're not real.
But if they can get you past 6, you got problems.
Yes, I don't.
Because their bullpen is real. Moving on, I got Max Fried. Max Fried had a slow start, and he's been coming on lately.
He had a slow start because of injury, though.
Yeah, but then even when he came back, and you could argue that it was the lingering effects of the injury.
Right.
But when he came back, he wasn't the same guy that he normally is.
Did I mention Astros?
I don't have any of those bums on my team. Moving on, Steven Matz, bounce back year up in Toronto. Really happy for him. I stuck with Robbie Ray. I actually have a Toronto heavy rotation. I stuck with Robbie Ray because Robbie Ray strikes out a lot of guys. Might win the Cy Young. Jose Barrios from Minnesota actually ended up getting traded to Toronto. Seems like the pitching coach over there got his mind right because he's been better ever since he got over there.
Right.
And the anchor, Mr. Clayton Kershaw. Hats off to you, champ. You've been hurt, but you delivered early and late for me.
That's what he does.
That's what he does. My closers, Kenley Jansen, and a sleeper cell closer I picked up off the waiver wire, Scott Barlow, ladies and gentlemen. And, don't do it.
See, I was nice.
I'm
kid.
here with a serial killer. My brother has a mean streak, and thank God he just got that beetle out of here without getting him out of here, taking him to the other side. Anyways, that's my fantasy wrap-up and pretty much our baseball wrap-up. The only thing that we got besides that is talking about the Astros. I don't have any Astros on my team. How do you feel about the Astros' chances?
I don't know. I don't want to talk about the Astros.
Oh, good. Neither do I. Moving on.
The Astros, it's going to be between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Astros coming out of the American League. And I'm taking the Astros for the simple fact is that they can hit tough pitching. And that's what it takes to be able to get past Tampa Bay. Now, Tampa Bay literally is not a glamorous squad. They're almost like your fantasy team. But they win. And they bring out pitchers after pitchers after pitcher after pitcher, and they never stop. So you have to be able to have.
And they lost in the World Series last year, which is a big deal to get to the next step of winning.
So you have to, they have to literally in order for them, I feel like they have to go past the Astros, and the Astros are going to give you tough at bats. The Astros, just like Tampa Bay brings out all those pitchers, the Astros keep bringing kids out that can swing the stick. It never stops with them. They can get rid of George Springer and still don't miss a beat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, they're a great organization.
I don't know about a great organization, but
They are a great
team.
organization.
Very well, then. Moving on, we got a special guest today, ladies and gentlemen. Really excited about this guest in the Ozone.
Yeah.
The Filipino Flash is here, folks. Mr. Nonito Donaire is coming up. Want to talk boxing. Going to lead in talking boxing now. Huge weekend in boxing. This is when Mr. Anthony Joshua, the heavyweight champ, goes up against... Oh. No, Nonito. He's already here. Welcome to the Ozone, Nonito. Man, appreciate you coming on. Thank you for taking time.
Yes.
And I just want to start with a tribute and ode to you, because you know what, man? First time that I saw you was when it was StubHub, and you've had some of your career highlights in Carson,
Right?
and I to the point where, honest to God, I always felt like you were from LA. I thought you were from the South Bay,
Right?
Because a lot of cats that fight, especially when they first start having fights there, back when it was the Home Depot Center, a lot of cats were from LA that were fighting there. And man, I remember watching a fight and being like, man, this is a little Filipino dude that's out there with the biggest heart in this. I don't even know how he can walk around, his heart is so big. He is out there chunking them. And you know what? When we met you through another champ, through Jelena Marjanovic, and you're always so humble, man. And I just want to really, we talk a lot here on the Ozone about the world. You know, we go beyond sports and we talk about the state of the world with sports and how sport is supposed to represent the best of us in the world. You know, and unfortunately now it's not always that way. We have a lot of people cheating. You have a lot of people doing bad business in general. And unfortunately, a lot of times we see the bad guy win. And you're somebody who, just like you said, man, you're at the house, you're with your wife, you're with your kids. You're a role model for a lot of people in a lot of ways. And I just want to thank you for who you are, because with the way that the world is upside down now, man, you got to give people their flowers now.
Right.
And you deserve it, man. You deserve it, champ.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. You know, that's the thing, is that the world in itself has always been the way it is, except that now the social media, now people are catching on to things, you know, from I would say from police brutality to just anything, you know, from cheating in the sports, you know, from even the boxing is like the wild, wild west. Boxing world is like wild, wild west. We constantly get beaten down by the managers, the agents, and especially promotion. You know, from the way back, from the time of Don King and even till these days. You know,
Right.
It's always happened. It's always happening, and now that it's in the view of the world, things can change.
Yes.
You know, and that's something that we can look forward to now, is that it's in the view, instead of looking at it in a perspective like, man, it's just messed up.
Right.
You know, we can look at it now like, okay, we can change something. You know, now we can't be bullied about it now because we got people behind our back. You know, you get the YouTube guys who's getting paid more than all these fighters that have been spending blood, tears, and you name
Crazy.
it. You know, so I mean, they did what they needed to do. You know, I don't hate on that, but what I'm saying is now we can get the people's back behind us as long as we can all connect and unite to help the sport. And that's why I'm a big avid supporter to drug testing, because our lives are on the line.
100%. 100%. And I don't
But-
understand this. I don't understand this concept that a lot of people have about juicing like it's not a big deal.
Right.
Because we had Tony Jeffries on last week, and Tony was talking about, it's like, hey man, this isn't hitting the baseball. I don't like juicing in baseball either, but this isn't in the baseball. This isn't, you know, driving a race car, tennis, or something.
This is a combat sport.
It's a combat sport, and if the playing field, even when the playing field is level, you're putting your life at risk. So when you're talking about a slanted playing field, it's really over the top. I'm glad you moved into that and touched on that, because it's important to the integrity of the sport. And boxing is already having a hard time competing with other combat sports because of faulty scoring, because of guys not fighting the right guy. Now I want to talk to you about this. You mentioned about getting jerked by promoters and about the history of corruption in boxing. You eliminated all that because you keep it all in-house.
Right.
Tell us about the working relationship between your wife, the brilliant Rachel Donaire, and what she does and what she's doing, with you and your career, and how you guys came to that decision.
Well, first, throughout the years, first I want to congratulate her as first woman to have a trainer's belt from the WBC.
Unbelievable.
That's awesome. Man, that's awesome.
The first woman to ever have a trainer's belt. I mean, she's done everything else, and like you said, the in-house thing. I mean, we've worked so hard in creating that whole system, because I mean, in the past it was 30% this, 10% that. It was always that. By the time we
actually got your money, it wasn't no money.
It was like 30% or 20%.
Right.
That was out of the 100%, so plus the tax, and all of that stuff. So, I mean, there were a lot of fighters are gone through all of that. And then, so we decided to learn the game.
Right.
We decided to learn the game. We started to understand things. We asked questions. And from that moment on, I mean, my wife's very amazing and brilliant and very intelligent, that she understood the concept of being a manager and having a conversation and not giving things. I mean, there was a time in 2011 or 2012 that I didn't fight for almost a year because 2011. She's checking me up. So
she can jump on. Rachel, you can jump on. It's all good. Ain't nobody scared of you. You can jump on. We're giving you love.
Yeah.
So she knows all the facts. But yes,
hey, Donaire, how you feeling?
The boss lady. Right?
Hey, I see you. Congrats.
So it came to that point where, she would not. She believed in what my worth was.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Almost a year we didn't fight because they were it wasn't something that it was fair or right.
It literally was not worth the risk. It wasn't worth it.
But in a case like that should extend your career, right? If you get to lay off for a year or so, don't you think that helps with your career as well?
Oh yeah, that's the thing why I'm coming back stronger is because when you're always going straight out, breaking walls, trying to break walls, you don't see what's around you.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I took back because of the pandemic for almost 2 years, there was a lot of healing, in my body, all of that stuff. And I came back really strong because I feel good, So, but I mean, going back to that, I mean, she can tell you all about it. She's feisty. So I'm the next guy.
I want to hear about it, Rachel, on the real, because the workouts that I see you guys doing online, that I understand that you actually craft, that you put the stuff together, man, this is serious business. I see y'all out there, man. I see you and Jesse and Jelena out there getting it in the desert, in a sauna. This is like some Rocky 8 type stuff where you see it, you're like, man, ain't nobody doing that. And it's 115 degrees and y'all out there working it. And now, did you have a background in fitness, or what was it? Or did you just actually study and say, this is what we need to be the most successful for Nonito, his body type, and the explosion that he needs for fighting?
Well, so I grew up in Taekwondo since the age of 8. And then I think I won my first nationals at 12. Then from then on, when I was able to make team, then the team spots as a black belt, then from that point on until I was 23, I was on the collegiate team, national team, Philippine national team, and military team when I was in the military.
Jeez.
Wow.
So Rachel got all the smoke. If you want some, worry about nothing.
She'll break you down.
She'll break you down. She'll give you the spot.
But yeah, so when we met, it was, he was fighting, I was still fighting. And we would argue over, for example, he'll say let's go run the hills. It's about 10 miles. And I'm like, why? And he's like, don't you run? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, why don't you run? I was like, I work on fast twitch muscles. And we're talking about when I implemented that was about, around 2002, 2003.
Early.
And then, we met in 2007. So I knew
She was hitting on me. By the way. She was hitting on me. So I'm putting it out there.
She's slitting your DMs in real life.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you were already an expert on that sort of training by the time you guys met. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that she understood was that implementing what is in the ring to translate, anything that we do outside, because you got to use it. You when you run for a marathon, you ain't running a marathon.
No,
you're fighting and there's a lot of fast twitch. There's a lot of variety in all of that stuff.
In the needs of what it is that you need to perform. Well, now you got crazy explosion. I mean, this last fight set the world on fire. People.
That was unbelievable. I hit him.
So excited about this fight. Congratulations.
Right.
And everybody really wanted you to and I want to give, since we got both of you guys here, I want to give you guys an opportunity to clear this up once and for all. Everybody thought that the next fight was going to be with Casimero. Casimero ended up fighting Rigondeaux in a fight that people considered the most boring fight of the year. Not the greatest fight of the year, but the most boring fight of the year. Nobody was excited about that fight or the outcome. Now, you got the belt, you got the dub. What happened there? I got a two-part question for both of you guys. You guys determine how you answer it. What happened with how that fight fell apart? Because I kept hearing different stuff, in the media on why the fight fell apart. And then what's next? I mean, I see that the WBC just ordered a fight for you. Is that fight obviously not looking past anyone? But is that fight mandatory that you're going to do with sights on a rematch with Inoue? Is Casimero still in the mix? What's the deal? Talk to us.
Well, the manager can talk to you about all of that stuff, but if for me, it's because she does a lot of that stuff. For me, things are always going to be possible with boxing. We've known, there's people sidestepping to get the real fight. So all of that stuff was just the negotiation and all that.
Got it.
Yeah, and for the Casimero thing in the past that didn't happen was because of the VADA thing that didn't.
He didn't want to test.
Right.
Yeah, and when they did when I gave them the ultimatum, that's when they try to,
they try to make it, hype it out, smoke and mirrors it to be something else.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of the people, the problem is, so, after Nonito fought, he wanted to fight Casimero, but he already had that, the fight with Rigondeaux planned. And so, we talked to Richard Schaefer, he talked to Heyman, and he's like, can I step in? And he's like, do you really want to step in? Like, this is how many weeks? He's like, it was a 3-round fight. I'm not injured. Let's go. So we pushed to have it done. And all of this stuff is normally within the contract anyway, as far as random blood testing, medicals, now COVID testing, all the fun stuff, medical work that you have to do. So what happened was, we kept asking them for the VADA paperwork, and they kept, like we said, smoke and mirrors. Like, there's 3 different types of VADA testing, right? There's WBC clean. Now, what people don't understand about WBC clean is there's 10 fighters per weight division, male and female, that they have to test. And there's only a certain amount of money that is put into that pool every month. So I don't know how much the test costs, $1,000 to $5,000 per test, let's just say. Then how many fighters can you test? Maybe 2 a month. And that's how many people in the scope of 12 months. That's the WBC clean. Then VADA 24/7 is for training camp. So you and I decide to fight, then we're gonna agree. That
no, we won't. I disagree. I don't agree. I'm out. I got a shoulder.
We got a shoulder.
I got a shoulder. I'm not.
He's gonna be out until next year.
I'm out until 2035 or so. It's gonna take. I'm a slow healer.
I'm actually injured too.
Anyway, sorry. So we the proverbial you and I agreed to a fight.
Yeah. So the weird part is when you do it for a fight, and if you have enough time, there starts to be a negotiation on, well, I only want to test 6 weeks out, and let's say we want to test 10 to 12 weeks out. Where is the even medium, and why don't you want to test earlier.
Exactly.
So that's the 24/7. Then you have the 24/7 365, which is individual all the way throughout the year. Doesn't matter who you're fighting. They'll show up anywhere. And they followed us, gosh,
For a
everywhere.
couple years. They follow us everywhere. So every time that if I was in Japan, I got to tell them where I was in Japan. If I was in the Philippines, I got to tell them where I am, where exactly the location and time and all that stuff. So I've done that for a couple of years just to show people that,
You're
clean
clean.
boxing, you don't need any of that stuff. You just work hard,
It's sacrifice. It's sacrifice.
Yeah.
You have to make the sacrifice and have the discipline.
So they were banking on saying, VADA 24/7, and they were actually only in the WBC clean program. So I, of course, followed up with WBC and asked them, and they said, yes, he's in the program, but we can't find him. So I'm over here.
Wow.
It's your responsibility as a boxer or as the manager to update the whereabouts forms whenever it changes. So if we decide to go to San Francisco and do the training camp, we have to fill it out, send it in. They're not going to chase you.
Right.
And I brought it to their attention. They said, we don't know how to contact him. I had to give them the email of MP promoter Sean Gibbons. And then that's when they put that one in. Then it was the actual VADA 24/7 for the fight camp that wasn't getting turned in.
Wow.
They made,
I guess it's dirty.
yeah. So I mean, like first they said we're not going to pay for it, and then I said,
yeah. She said,
I'll pay for it.
Yeah.
Then they give us the money. I was like, you're out of your mind. And then
Give us the money.
How about I give the testing the money? Wow.
exactly.
yeah,
Throw
and
the
then
cheese.
we didn't feel like we were ever, because the last tweet that pretty much set me off was they sent a picture of the top of the VADA form, and it says application and whereabouts, and he's like VADA 24/7 enrolled, and he tagged me. And so I emailed VADA. I go, do I pay the invoice now or what's going on? And they emailed me back. We haven't received anything. I was like, this is a bunch of jokes. You guys are just going to keep doing it.
Right.
So the game, there was so many games played, and I ain't about to just play that game. I mean, I've been in the game for so long.
Right.
You ain't a rookie. You know what
So
it
long
is.
that I'm like, you know what, kid? I don't play that game.
And
So,
you got the belt.
Well, let me ask you this, though. Is it harder because you guys aren't in the stable? Because I know that all of the fighters nowadays are in stables. So is it harder for you when you try to, enact something like that? Or is that a stable thing,
Not quite. I mean, it's just an individual. The boxing world is individual sports, but they do have that stable and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's the manager, boxer, and then the promoter. And it goes from there. So it's very simple. It's just that some people are gonna play games, and that's something that I can't control. And so we move on to a different guy.
Well, like for example, the WBSS was an amazing tournament. The tournament he was in with Inoue, every single participant within the WBSS, the fighters that were in it, and also the replacement fighters that were underneath them, all were VADA tested 24/7, 365.
Oh, wow. I really feel like there needs to be more of those super series and more of the tournaments to force who's supposed to fight one another. We're really big on our show talking about the danger of the stables.
Yeah.
Because the stables actually seem to prevent more fights than it actually promotes.
And it's cannibalizing the sport.
It fully cannibalizes the sport because you don't get to see the guys fight. I've heard a lot of questionable things about Dana White as far as being a businessman, but from the consumer's perspective, I'm not a big UFC MMA guy, but the guys who are supposed to fight always fight.
Right.
You get down to the bottom of who's the best because there is no question. For one, you don't have a lot of questions about scorecards because most of them end brutally. But you also get down to the bottom of who's supposed to fight one another instead of, well, this guy's ranked this and this guy's ranked that. Well, this guy's in this stable, and so he'll fight another guy in his stable and so on and so forth. And it seems to be a deterrent. Now, in my opinion, you have defied the odds to this point. I think, just like Terry said, just like you said, the time off that you've taken in between fights has actually worked in your favor in a lot of ways. It's kept you from wear and tear in a lot of ways. There was a period that I thought you had retired or you were going to retire.
Right.
And it seems like it was just inactivity for healing And for perspective, and I know how introspective you are as a man, you know, and about your faith and your life. Now knowing, I didn't know that, you know, obviously from outside, from a distance. Now, the COVID situation, if I'm correct, the fight that just passed was the first time you fought in about a year or more, right? Close to 2 years.
A year and a half.
Yeah, about a year and a half. Now you're about to mix it back up. Do you feel like the leverage of the win and the momentum that you have puts you back in a position to fight whoever you want? And do you have a plan for wrapping it up? Because I always wonder this about the fighters, because we all have watched fights forever. The fighter is always the last person to know that they should retire. Always. And do you have an out plan? Like you're saying, hey, I'm doing 4 more fights, I'm doing 5 more fights, or I just want this one rematch. I'm telling you, man, that ain't a way fight. Oh my God! I didn't see a lot of you. Oh my God! I was up in the middle of the night. You gotta watch this. You gotta watch it. You didn't see this because there's so much hype in boxing, and I understand it because I'm in show business, and so much of it is show. You know what I mean? So much of it is smoke and mirrors to make you think one guy, the new guy, is gonna. You know, they need to milk the people for what it is. They do the same thing to us as performers. I understand it. This kid actually is a genuine article, but I'm gonna tell you something. Nobody pushed him to the limit that you pushed him to. And I actually think you made him so much better from that point with that fight. I really wonder what would happen in a rematch. And I also wonder, take me through that fight because, man, you dug so deep. I thought you might knock him out at one point.
Oh, yeah. Almost did. I mean, it was a back and forth thing. You know, as much as he got better and you saw the last performance for me, I got better too.
I see that.
It relived my desire, my determination, and my determination to learn. This is where I believe that I've gotten so much better, and I'm very, very confident. And so we want the rematch because we know what I'm capable of now.
Yes.
It's gonna be a really good fight.
It is.
And I I came in there, and there was this one thing in my head was just, he said that it was gonna make me run. And in my head was just, I'm just gonna bang it out, now, and he the first moment he tried to press on me, and he felt the power.
You popped him.
He started backpedaling, but he was smart, and he got a lot of power too. But I mean, man, it was exciting fight. I would really want to do it again.
I can imagine. Because you know what? They set you up.
I love that kind of fight.
They set you up. They set you up. The industry set you up like this was a pass the torch.
Right.
I don't think they expected you to get that far in the tournament, in real life, for real. I think they all underestimated you. They didn't expect you to get there. Then when you got there, it was like, okay, this is going to be a pass the torch. There's going to be a retirement ceremony, blah, 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 blah. And you showed up. Man, you showed up.
He did.
Oh, my God, I thought you was going to die. I was going crazy. I was going nuts.
But now it seems like
about like everything about like the industry and the passing, right? Like that, it didn't just end there. When we were doing the B-roll for the Ubali fight, Showtime had some production company come over and ask questions.
Oh, their question was about me retiring, and she got. I was like, you better do that all over. They did about an hour of interviews and all this stuff. It's like, no, I don't like that question that you're asking. He is not retiring. He didn't say nothing about retiring. That came from your mouth.
Yeah. So
they were trying to put you in a nursing home.
Cordial. I'll answer the question.
Yeah.
And then so his one of our corner guys was looking at me and he was like, "What's up?" And I was like, "This is BS, man." And he was like, "Do you want me to talk to her?" I was like, "Tell her to come over here." And they were like,
oh yeah, they pulled the equipment away, and she said, "No."
She's like, "Did you have an issue with the interview?" I go, "Was that an issue with?" I was like, "Was that an interview, or were you telling him he was going to retire?" Because that's not what we're here for. We're here to promote
the future in this fight. Yeah,
huge. Like what we're doing. I was like, because that was some BS. I was like, you're basically telling him that this is his retirement. You have no right to sit. I was like, put the lights back on, redo the damn thing. Ooh. And so
that's exactly what they did. But see that's the thing. things that fighters, we don't know outside of fighting that we'll take whatever is given to us.
Right.
It takes a team, and for me, my wife has been there to really guide me. To really say no, because for us, I'm like, we'll just fight.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Yep.
I want to mix
You're
it
a
up.
fighter.
You want to mix it up.
But that's the job. It's so important I did a movie with Spike Lee, and one thing that I learned from working with Spike, and I grew up watching Spike's films and admiring his films. Spike doesn't interact. You might go the whole movie. You might shoot the whole 4 or 5 months, and Spike might talk to you twice. He might talk to you maybe twice, 3 times. He's putting you in a position where he's saying, you're the right guy for the job. You do what you do. I'm going to capture it. I'm going to do what I do. And I learned from that, and I said to myself, wow, it's so important for people to be put in a position to succeed, to just do their job. You're a fighter. Job is to fight. And the promoter's job is to promote. The manager's job is to manage, to guide. It's so critical, and that's why it's so beautiful for you guys to work together, because you don't see it. You see father and son relationships in boxing more so than anything. Whether it's actual biological father and son.
We've never seen this, though.
No, that's what I'm saying, and not successfully.
Yes.
Whether it's actual biological fathers and son or the biological image. You have a lot of boxers that didn't have a father who the trainer or the manager steps in with this boxing father figure. We've never seen this before. And it's beautiful.
She has a vested interest, and it's not about the money. It's about
At all.
It's about the love of family and everything else. And this is the message that they're sending, which is awesome.
Yeah, man. They're really solid.
Now, every time that you guys fight now, is it a situation where you guys feel like they're trying to set you up to pass the torch?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's always something that they always kind of hint, my age.
Right.
This is why the knockout was so clutch.
Right.
Because when you knock people out, there is no going to the cards.
You made it look easy. That's what I was like, man, you made it look easy.
And to me, I from the very get-go, I always say, I won't let it or give it to anyone else's opinion from who wins the fight. I always want to go out there and get that knockout. That's the biggest thing for me, And it's either you take me out, I'm gonna take you out. Most of the time, I'll take you out.
A good 90% of the time, you taking them out. And I'm gonna tell you something, man. People love you for that. People love you, Nonito. So it's so important to know that.
Right.
You mean a lot to a lot of people, and it's great to have that. It's great to have the image that you're portraying. You know what I mean? That both of you guys are portraying, but of a unit,
right?
Of a family unit, and what you can accomplish. The world is yours when you have a partner to ride with you. And when you're dedicated and committed like that, it's a beautiful thing. It really, really is. Now, I want to go get your take on this weekend's boxing, actually. Yeah, not any of your fights. Huge fight this weekend, Anthony Joshua and Usyk. Alexander Usyk and Joshua. Usyk's trying to be the
man.
He's trying to be the man. And what I didn't know, I read about, he's under the banner of the Klitschko brothers. And I didn't know that.
Right?
He's on the K2 banner as far as like that. That's how he got going with Loma's dad and the whole song and dance.
But I sort of feel like Klitschko is leaning towards Joshua.
Because he knocked him out, which is a wild.
He knocked me out, even though he's my fighter. I'm with him.
Yeah, which is a wild
concept, right?
It's a wild concept. Now, I'm gonna give my take, and you guys go. And we go round table. I don't like what Anthony Joshua is saying, because Anthony Joshua is saying
he had doubt.
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
I heard him say he's been fighting Orthodox fighters his whole career. I never fight southpaw fighters, and I've adapted to this style over the last 3 months. So my biggest thing is going to be, footwork and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And I'm leaning out, just not by design of leaning out, but because of footwork and training and so on and so forth. I don't like the way that sounds. Let me tell you what else I don't like. I don't like how Usyk takes punches at heavyweight.
Right.
From what I've seen in his heavyweight fights, them boys' hands seem to be
a lot heavier,
real heavy on his face. And he has that slow start.
And his body.
Which, in the heavyweight division, you can't afford slow starts because guys can get you out of there.
Especially if he gets knocked down early.
This is what I'm saying. But I don't know about this fight. If I was going to bet, I would bet Anthony Joshua. What do you got?
I'm going Joshua just because he's fundamentally sound. He's a big puncher. And Usyk hasn't shown that he can take the heavyweight punch like O was just saying.
And he's rededicated to the sport. That's one thing I do
Now,
like.
Joshua said that he did.
Joshua's rededicated to the
But
sport.
Joshua said that he did have doubt during his sparring sessions, and he's been going long and hard with his sparring sessions because, he's trying to adapt to a new style. But I honestly feel like it'll pan out for him. I think that he's a good champion, and most people don't like to give him credit just because he lost. But losing is a part of life, and you have to you have to get up and start all over again, and it builds character and everything else.
Well, for me, I mean, I've seen Usyk during the WBSS, but that was at the cruiserweight, and he had a lot of speed. He was like a big Lomachenko.
That's exactly what he's hard to hit. He had angles.
So, and he's only had about a couple fights in the heavyweights, and like you said, he's taking those big shots, and heavyweights are not the type of shots that you're gonna have to take. It'll mess you up. But again, I lean on intelligence more. I know that Anthony Joshua has the reach, and the experience in this division, but Usyk has the experience in fighting orthodox, and I'm gonna give it to him because of his lighter. He has more speed, and yes, the fight can go. As fast as it can end as fast as anyone can look because of the fact that Joshua got that power. It's just a matter of Usyk just not getting hit with it, and that was his forte. That was his forte in the cruiserweight. Now, if he leans towards that by taking this fight the way he did in the cruiserweight, not get hit, then I would lean on towards Usyk, and I would give Usyk this one because of what I think that he might go in there. But yeah, that's just me being in opposition to you guys.
You had to do it,
huh? Usyk gained that weight though, because his elusiveness.
Yes, he hasn't been elusive at the heavyweight.
He hasn't. He actually seems like he's been easy to find. I think it was Chisora that he fought, and I think it was Chisora. And Chisora,
I thought he was gonna get stopped early.
It didn't look good for the first 4 or 5
but Chisora
rounds.
was out of shape.
And he's just not who he's not. He's not an elite fighter. He's a gatekeeper at that, at that division. Anthony Joshua is an elite guy. We're gonna see.
100%.
Who you on, Rachel? Or would you not like to say?
No, I mean, like, we've had this conversation a couple times. I can't remember who. I might have had it with Julina actually, because I was like him. I was such a fan of Usyk at cruiserweight.
Me too.
All of us were.
Yeah, and so when he moved up, it seemed like he was trying to bang more. He was getting hit more, of course, and so I'm like, where did that smart, slick boxing go? And I don't know if it was because, okay, when you do gain weight, and you're going against these guys who are bigger already, like when he went up to 126, the 126ers walked 150.
Right.
So you're forcing your body to gain weight, whether through muscle, through eating more. Is it slowing him down? Is his body not reacting in all the
same reflex feed or whatever? Yeah.
Now you're carrying more weight. You have to train your body to be higher at that higher weight and be able to move that way. So I mean, for me, like just how strong AJ has been, it's naturally for him to be that way. And that one punch that Usyk might just say, okay, I'm going to take this and then I'm going to counter.
And I'm going to see. I agree.
Done.
Man, that's why I keep her around. That was brilliant. That was
right.
I agree with you, Rachel. I don't think you can. I haven't seen him. The first fight that he fought, that guy that was in Chicago that stepped in at heavyweight, that dude touched him up early.
He did.
And that guy,
he roughhouse with him.
He bullied him.
Yeah, he bullied him all around.
He's like a club fighter.
Right. He's like a bar guy.
Yeah. And he looked better against Chisora for sure. But I mean, you're taking a big leap up.
Right. This is an elite heavyweight. This is not just a regular guy walking around.
And I'm also interested to see what Anatoly Lomachenko, Vitaly's dad, Vasily's dad, what his strategy will be if that translates for the bigger size.
Right.
Because he does train both of them, it seems like, in a very similar move, footwork, angles, move, footwork, angles. Guy doesn't see the punch, bop, bop, bop. Oh, you're still on him, bop, bop, bop. I don't know. if the heavyweight fighters are interested in any of that.
There's always this doubt there anytime you talk about British heavyweight fighters for some reason, though.
There is.
And there's always a question mark there. And I don't know if that is justified because of the ones that we have seen in the past. Yeah, it's historic. But Anthony Joshua seems to be a little bit different. I don't knock him for losing. Like I said, that's a part of the sport. That's a part of any sport. So, but with his skill set, I think that he'll be able to. I think he's going to stop him, honestly, later in the fight.
It could be early in the fight.
It could be early. I mean, honestly, he decided to take that one-hitter quitter, that's it.
It's going to go the wrong way. Yeah. But I'm interested to see, just like how Rachel said, how he moves.
Yes.
I want to see how Usyk moves because
since he's been a
heavyweight, he hasn't been light on his toes. No. He looks sluggish.
And it's going to be some time in that fight where he's going to have to stand there and bang. You're not going to be able to run the whole time. And when you have to stand there and bang, is he going to be able to throw that?
And the thing, too, is that as much as Anthony Joshua is just getting used to fighting southpaw, but one thing that he has and learned from Lennox Lewis and the Klitschko's is that jab and
that jab's a monster.
And range, and pushing you off with that jab and guiding you. So if Usyk, and I'm still going to go for Usyk.
I hear you.
Even if he does go,
don't do it.
Even if he does go underneath, Joshua can just lean that jab over and take that distance away from him. So I mean, heavyweight fight.
It's a heavyweight fight. Right? That's it. Nobody knows what's going to happen in a heavyweight fight. That's what's awesome about it.
What about the Fury? Right. What about the Fury fight coming up? Fury Wilder.
Oh man, it's just a different story, man. I mean, people can say that Wilder is training differently and he's changing different and all that and doing some different stuff, but then you still have a guy who's slick and see your punches,
right?
And can counter you over and he has a confidence, But if he's overconfident, that could be a big problem. But we know that he's the Undertaker because he got knocked out and he came back up.
He sure did.
He came back up.
Nothing no one's ever seen. That was unbelievable.
It was crazy.
That was great. We were there.
Boys!
We were there.
Oh my God!
All there. Boom. Hey, and he got up and chunked him.
He did.
We talk about it all the time.
Yeah, because he stole that round.
I don't feel like enough people give him credit for what he did after he pulled The Undertaker. Because in that 12th round, he got up and he beat the crap out of Deontay Wilder for the rest of that round, which was even more impressive, to be honest.
Because he was holding on at that point.
Yeah. By the end of that round, Deontay was holding on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. But, I mean, I've watched 19 rounds of them fighting. I've seen Deontay Wilder win 2 rounds.
And I don't think Deontay can change that much, even though he's had this time off.
But I will say the time will help him.
Yeah, definitely. But he's always got the punch. But most of the good boxers are going to try to take that away from him, and then what he's going
to do. To what Nonito said, Tyson Fury has taken that punch a few times.
Yes.
If you go back in the second fight, at the bell, Deontay Wilder tried to knock him out at the opening bell.
Sure did.
He came out and checked his chin, right Johnny on the spot. And he rolled it, and he came back. And we all know what happened there. Obviously, Deontay Wilder's gear was too heavy, and that's the only reason that he...
No.
No. His water was spiked.
Mark Breland did it.
Mark Breland did. That's what it was. Anyways, I ain't going to front on Bomb Squad. That's the homie. I didn't appreciate the excuses, but that's the homie. So I'm wishing them both well.
Yeah.
Well, we ain't going to take up your whole day. Hey, thank you to the Donaire family for coming out. You guys are great. You guys are great people. We pray for you guys. Keep it up. Tell the people where they can find you on social media.
So, on Facebook and Instagram, Nonito Donaire Jr., and then on Twitter, it's Filipino Flash.
Okay.
Anything else?
Rachel?
Mine's Twitter. Twitter is Queen, and then on Facebook and Instagram is just Rachel Donaire.
Okay. All right. Hey, we love you guys. Thank you so much. Yes. You guys are family in the Ozone. Anytime you want to come, and if you want to come hang out at our field, you're welcome. You come. We'll set it up.
Throw a couple passes around.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you guys for having us, man. It was fun. It was just fun, man. It was fun.
Good.
You just laugh. That's what it's all about. And I'm grateful to you guys for having me on, having her on, and just having this great conversation, man. So
and for sure, he's gonna be fighting December. Just a quick snippet of what your question was earlier. Casimiro, apparently from yesterday's face-off, they had a face-off in the Philippines, well, on Zoom or whatever, had said that they're having some internal issues with MP Promotions. So, and then, of course, we all saw WBC mandated Gabayo. But Gaballo is also advised by Sean Gibbons. So it's going to be interesting to see. We told Casimiro, we're like, listen, if you want to fight, we already been sitting here for a month. You're going to go have to talk to Sean Gibbons if he decides to put you back in and sidelines Gaballo. Yeah, or whatever. But I mean, like, there's that. And then I know Jason Maloney, I believe, was calling you out as well. I mean, there's so many.
Everybody's calling me out, man.
They think they want this moment.
Better change your number.
Yeah.
Everybody want to call you out.
Yeah.
But either way, it's supposed to be December.
52.
Oh, Nonito. That's right. Everybody want to hit that lottery, man.
Window number 1.
But I tell you, man, it speaks to where you are.
Yeah.
It speaks to what your legacy is and speaks to where you are. Because people want to share the ring with you. And they know that will elevate them. And that just speaks to what you guys have built. And I think I think that there's more to come. So we look forward to seeing you guys in December. When that time comes, you come back on.
Definitely.
Speak on it. We will do everything we can to promote the fight.
Thank you guys, man. You guys are amazing, brothers. Thank you. Appreciate y'all, man.
All right, man. One love.
Bye.
That's great. Now, this is a really solid time on the Ozone, folks. Nonito Donaire, Rachel Donaire. Come on. What do you want from us? The Ozone, ladies and
We're
gentlemen.
leaving it all on the field.
We have to. We're leaving it right there. Come on. Won't cover football right now, but at least Rodgers scored for me. I still got blasted. But
I know, but Rodgers, I mean, he showed up. He showed, is it going to be consistent? That's the thing.
I don't know, but Lamar Jackson's going to start for me now. I don't care what they talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that dude, he got the job done out there big
Okay,
time.
okay.
But we give you an espresso shot about some football.
Right.
Bring back Trucker Dave. Maybe
Right.
even Cowboy
Kev.
Kev. Oh, Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? You.
Got me done
Right here
Yeah.
on the field.
at the house.
I'm going to leave you with a quote from James Baldwin, ladies and gentlemen, and it is, not every problem that is faced can be fixed, but no problem that isn't faced can ever be fixed. Go into your problems head on, folks. We're here. We're with each other. We're all for one another, and we're in this stew together. This is the Ozone.
Ozone.